Hey, welcome to Theology Made. I'm Jordan, where we simplify big theological and philosophical ideas and explore their real-world implications. And in this video, we're tackling a massive historical question. I would actually argue it is probably the historical question. How did Christianity grow from a tiny, persecuted movement into the dominant faith of the Roman Empire? And we're going to interact with the work of one of my favorite sociologists and historians. His name is Rodney Stark. And specifically, we're going to look at a lot of the insights from his book, The Rise of Christianity. As you can see, mine's pretty old and dirty. Let's actually see how old this is. I used to always write my name and the date that I read it in the front. Let's kind of take a look. Oh, Jordan Vale, 12/4/2010, as you can see from my horrible handwriting. And so over the next 10 minutes, we're going to look at some of the insights from Rodney Stark's work, as well as the historical context that provided the fuel for the growth of Christianity. First, let's set the stage. So around 30 AD, Christianity emerged as this small Jewish sect within the Roman Empire, which was a massive multicultural world known for its impressive infrastructure and brutal governance. And the Roman world, far from being atheistic, was religiously pluralistic. In fact, many considered Christians as atheists because they only believed in one God. And so the Roman world had countless gods, temples, and cults. And while some early Jewish groups actively resisted Rome, like the Maccabees, early Christians, they took a different approach, focusing on spreading their message of hope and salvation. And by 312 AD, so this is about 300 years later, Constantine's conversion to Christianity marks a turning point. But here's the thing. Christianity was already growing rapidly before Constantine. So what made this new faith so compelling? First was the radical community of early Christians. And this is probably one of the most striking features of early Christianity, is its emphasis on community. So Christianity found itself in a very fragmented Roman society. And what it did is it offered a sense of belonging that would transcend your traditional boundaries of class, ethnicity, and gender. And early Christian communities, they lived out the values of generosity and care. During plagues, natural disasters, while most fled the city, Christians would stay to care for the sick, even those who weren't part of their faith. And this wasn't just about altruism. It was rooted in their belief that all people, regardless of religion, are made in the image of God and deserving of love. And this radical sense of community didn't go unnoticed. Historians record how even non-Christians admired their compassion, and sociologists like Stark argue that this is the major reason, or at least one of the major reasons, for Christianity's growth. The second thing was the elevated status of women. Christianity's treatment of women was revolutionary for its time. In the Roman world, women were often treated as property and had barely any rights. And practices like infanticide, which disproportionately affected baby girls, and an exposure of unwanted infants was incredibly common. And Christianity directly challenged these norms. It preached the inherent dignity and equality of all people, men and women. And Christian teachings condemned infanticide, encouraged fidelity in marriage, and offered widows and single women a place of honor within the community rather than shame. And moreover, women played significant roles in spreading the faith. Many converted their families, served as deaconess, and supported the church through acts of hospitality and leadership. And we see this even in the New Testament. And Stark and others note that this elevated status made Christianity particularly attractive to women, leading to higher rates of conversion within families. 3, urban growth and the spread of ideas. Early Christianity found its strongest foothold in cities. The Roman Empire was incredibly urbanized for its time. With large cities like Antioch, Alexandria, and Rome, they served as hubs of commerce, culture, and ideas. And in these crowded environments, Christianity's emphasis on care, community, it shone bright. So when plagues swept through urban centers, it was Christian groups that organized care for the sick, even at a great personal risk. This not only saved lives, but also demonstrated the faith's practical impact. And then cities were melting pots of different cultures, ideas, and that's fertile ground for the exchange of beliefs. So Christianity's message of hope, salvation, purpose, It appealed to people searching for meaning in a chaotic and honestly brutal world. And then 4, the power of networks and relationships. So here's a fascinating detail. Christianity didn't spread primarily through mass conversions or public preaching. It spread through relationships. Early Christians shared their faith with family, friends, and neighbors, and it wasn't a random process. This was deeply intentional. When one person converted, their social network often followed. And over time, these small relational ripples created waves of growth across the empire. But here's the kicker. Unlike some other religious movements, Christianity didn't rely on charismatic leaders alone. Every believer was seen as a missionary, capable of sharing the gospel and living it out in their daily lives. Theologically, we would call this the priesthood of all believers. And then 5, a religion of hope and eternal life. Stark emphasizes that Christianity's message was deeply appealing in a world that was filled with uncertainty and suffering. And Roman religions often viewed life as cyclical, so there was little emphasis on your individual destiny. And Christianity flipped this narrative. It offered a linear view of history where God was working towards a redemptive conclusion. And the promise of eternal life, resurrection, and personal relationship with a loving God, it provided hope that would transcend the challenges of daily life. And this hope wasn't just theoretical, it shaped how Christians lived. Their belief in eternal life, it gave them courage in the face of persecution and compassion in the face of suffering. And then 6, the role of persecution. So speaking of persecution, we need to address a common misconception. While Christians did face brutal persecution under certain emperors, this wasn't a constant reality. In fact, persecution often had the unintended effect of strengthening the faith. The courage of martyrs inspired onlookers, and the faith's emphasis on forgiveness, but also hope, it resonated deeply. Tertullian famously wrote, "The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church." And then 7 is Constantine and the legitimization of Christianity. In 313 AD, Constantine's Edict of Milan, it legalized Christianity. And his conversion, it really marks a turning point. But there's an important aspect not to miss. Christianity didn't rise because of Constantine. By the time he converted, Christians already made up a significant portion of the empire. Constantine's support, it did accelerate the faith's growth, but the groundwork had really been laid through centuries of grassroots expansion. And then 8 is countercultural ethics. This is a major factor that really set Christianity apart. It was its countercultural ethic. In a society that glorified power, wealth, violence, Christianity preached humility, generosity, and love. And this ethic wasn't just for show, it was lived out. Christians rejected practices like the gladiator games and infanticide. They shared their resources, they cared for the vulnerable, and these actions didn't just attract converts, they also challenged the values of Roman society and offered a powerful alternative. And then 9, the intellectual appeal of Christianity. So let's talk about this intellectual side of Christianity. Because far from being a simple or naive faith, Christianity engaged deeply with philosophy and also culture. Thinkers like Justin Martyr, Origen, Augustine, they demonstrated that Christianity could hold its own in debates with pagan philosophers. And they articulated a vision of the world that was both intellectually robust, but also spiritually compelling. And this intellectual engagement is why Christianity appealed to the educated elites, furthering its spread across all different social classes. So why did Christianity rise? A radical community, a message of hope, a countercultural ethic, and a vision of life that transformed both individuals and societies. And Rodney Stark's insights are a great starting point. But the story of Christianity's rise is even richer when we consider all of these spiritual, relational, historical, and intellectual factors at play. So if you enjoyed this exploration, hit the like button and subscribe for more content from Theology Made. And let us know in the comments, which factor do you think was the most important in Christianity's rise?